Okay, this is the first video we've made in a long time where we actually talk about the NHL coming back. Everything else we've been talking about is like prospect updates, trade rumors, and all that stuff. Not really any updates on the actual league because, hey, I'm gonna be honest, talking about phone calls where players are upset that they're getting money taken away from them, yeah, that's kind of boring. Like, cool, I get it is important, but at the end of the day, I just really don't care. But this is something I do care about, because we had ourselves Greg Wyshynski earlier on Twitter yesterday, who said this: "From today's column on ESPN+, this is what I am hearing for potential divisions for the 2020-2021 NHL season." And on the tweet, he has an image where he goes over each of the 4 divisions that we're going to be analyzing, dissecting, and talking about here today, because there isn't any official announcement from the league at the time of this recording. And Greg Wyshynski's little piece over here is just kind of the leaking, I guess. It's the hearsay making its way into the public eye. Let's take a look at what the proposed NHL divisions are looking like. First off, in the Canadian division, you know what you're going to see here in the Canadian division: the New York Rangers, the Boston Bruins, the Anaheim Ducks, the Dallas Stars, and the Minnesota Wild. Just kidding, that's not the Canadian division. You know who's in the Canadian division because we've spoken about that a ton before. The Flames, Oilers, Habs, Sens, Leafs, Canucks, and Jets. No surprises there. Next up, though, this is what the East Division would look like. The Boston Bruins, the Buffalo Sabres, Carolina Hurricanes, New Jersey Devils, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers, and Washington Capitals. Okay, so there's a mix right there of some of those Atlantic and Metro teams getting swapped in there. Obviously, that's not a surprise, but alas, this is what we have. Then we also have ourselves another grab bag mixture of divisions over here. In fact, it's a mixture of actual conferences for the Central Division. It's the Blackhawks, the Blue Jackets, the Red Wings, the Panthers, the Predators, the Pens, the Blues, and the Lightning. Now, this is a very interesting one, because what you have are 3 straight up just Western teams right now. You have the Blackhawks, you have the Blues, and you have the Predators, and the rest are those Eastern teams. However, you could say, okay, Columbus and Detroit, those are kind of interchangeable because we've seen Columbus and Detroit swap conferences over in the past few years, so it doesn't really define itself like that 100%, and then the rest of the teams belong in what is to be called the West Division. Anaheim, Arizona, Colorado, Dallas, Los Angeles, Minnesota, San Jose, and Vegas. So it's a big combination of the best teams and the worst teams, because you have the 3 California teams who are all bad, and then you have the other teams rounding it out. Vegas, Colorado, Dallas, these guys were all powerhouses. That's pretty funny to see. This is a map posted onto Reddit by a user named MDLT97. He made a map of what exactly these divisions would look like, and here it is right here. You see the Canadian division, easy to understand why exactly this is the division. But then the West, which is this big little, I don't know, triangle, rectangle. It's I forgot my shapes. A rectangular prism, I guess. That's not really all too straight. It's in the middle. It's got Minnesota as the most northeastern team. And then, of course, the big amount of traffic is in the California, Nevada, Arizona collection over there. Then you have yourselves what is the Eastern Division, featuring the Sabres, the Devils. It's all the Metro teams, plus a little bit of the other stuff. And then the middle piece right there, that little, I don't know, it's like a person eating the Eastern Division. Man, I can't really get that out of my head now. It looks like Pac-Man. It's got Blackhawks, it's got Red Wings, it's got Blue Jackets, Pens, Preds, Blues, and then you have the Lightning and the Florida team. So it's actually really interesting, because I saw a lot of Reddit comments saying about, okay, if it were up to me, it would have made the most sense to, for example, swap Pittsburgh and Carolina, because look at the proximity of some of these teams, man. Pittsburgh looks like it's right smack dab in the middle between Buffalo and Washington. How could you guys just not group them together and then pull that Carolina team into what is the division encapsulating the Florida teams, Nashville and St. Louis? So obviously the geographical locations are going to make things weird, especially since there's a different idea going around as to whether or not the NHL could go with some bubbles, and whether or not there's actually going to be travel going to the home arenas. We don't know what's going on at the moment of this recording. Who knows, though? It is one of the last weeks of November. We'll see if there actually is anything. I'm recording this at 12:16 a.m. in the morning, so if something does go down, I miss it, I apologize. But This is actually kind of funny because I wanted to go over each of these divisions here and just give my overall thoughts as to how I believe the performance is going to go down. Because first off, for the Canadian division, we spoke about this in a few videos ago, but this is a stacked division. Like, all these teams legitimately have an opportunity at being, in my opinion, second-round caliber teams, if not third-round caliber teams, except for Ottawa. Montreal, they improved incredibly. Toronto, we know the talent Toronto has. Winnipeg, we know the top 6 that Winnipeg has. Edmonton, they've stacked up on forward depth. Calgary, they added some nice defensive pieces. Vancouver is Vancouver, which I guess if you're taking a look at 1 year more of Pettersson and Hughes and Besser and Horvat, you're saying, okay, that team can get better. But they also added Nate Schmidt, who I think is one of the best defenders the team has had in a while, just in terms from an overall talent perspective. So it's difficult for me to really encapsulate how I believe the Canadian division is going to go down. I could really see that top 6, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, and Montreal, just swap endlessly as to who's going to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's just, in my opinion, Ottawa's going to be last because they're the only team, in my opinion, that just isn't really up to that standard. The rest of the divisions, though, are a little bit more easy to see more of, I guess, the distribution of points, if you want to call it that. The West Division, for example, the one right here in the middle. Yeah, we spoke about this earlier, but San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Arizona, not really expecting much out of them. Minnesota, I'm expecting a little bit of an improvement, to be honest. I'm not really too sure, but they did lose Eric Stahl, but they are getting Marco Rossi and Kirill Kaprizov, so we'll see how that goes down. Colorado, we know how good Colorado can be. Dallas, they just made the Stanley Cup Finals. Who knows what's going to happen with Tyler Seguin, if or if not he starts out the year and he continues playing. Vegas is Vegas. We kind of know they added Pietrangelo, so they're supposed to be better. Pietrangelo, in my opinion, is an upgrade over Nate Schmidt, so we'll see how exactly that team fares. Arizona, it's Arizona. I think we already spoke about Arizona, but yeah, it's a weird organization, the Arizona Coyotes, and I think if you've watched any of the videos we've made about Arizona, you kind of know where I'm coming from there. Taking a look at that middle piece, though, the Central Division, Chicago, Detroit, yeah, no, these teams are not really supposed to be all too great. Pittsburgh's a team that you're supposed to bet on every single year because Crosby and Malkin, who knows what they can do when they really turn it on. It's just that in the postseason, things have been weird for this Pittsburgh Penguins team, especially since they got eliminated most recently by the Montreal Canadiens. Columbus, we know Columbus was a very nice team against Toronto. They have some good pieces. Tortorella makes them work hard. St. Louis, Stanley Cup champions from a year ago, definitely still have some star power there. They lost out on Pietrangelo, which is going to be big, but they still have the capabilities of being competitive, in my opinion. Nashville's a team who I don't really see all too much faith in. Tampa Bay was the champions. Florida, who knows what's going to go on with Florida. I kind of see this one more as Tampa, Pittsburgh, St. Louis kind of leading the charge, and then the rest of the team just battling it out for the bottom spots. And then over into the Eastern Division, you have the worst teams in the league in Buffalo and New Jersey in there, tossed in with some powerhouses. The Rangers are supposed to get better. They're adding Lafreniere. They still have Capo, Kakos, Zibanejad, all these really good players, Panarin. Boston was supposed to get good, but they lost out on Torrey Krug. They might lose out on Chara. We'll speak more about Chara a little bit later today in the 2 p.m. video. But the Islanders, third-round performance last year. The Flyers, they were supposed to be really good, but they lost in the second round to that Islanders team. The Carolina Hurricanes were supposed to improve, but they ended up losing in the first round to the Washington Capitals, who are also still in here. So I think the most competitive one in terms of fighting for the wins and actually, up and away going over each other, it's going to be the Eastern one. It's just the Canadian division has only really one team that I think is bad, and that is Ottawa. The Eastern one has 2 teams that are bad, which are Buffalo and New Jersey, which means that I think there's more of an opportunity for these Eastern teams to really pile on the wins. Whereas in the Canadian division, I wouldn't be surprised if Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Winnipeg all finish with similar stat lines, and that Toronto and Montreal, for example, just ended up with a slightly higher stat line than the rest. It's going to be really tight, this Canadian division, but I think the most competitive one is going to be that Eastern division. There certainly are some bad teams in the Western division and the Central, but we still have a ways away to go. Obviously, this is just Greg Wyshynski's own hearsay that he's publishing out there in the media, so big credits to Mr. Greg for ESPN. So with that in mind, I'll leave you with the actual graph of what we're looking at here today. So talk to me in the comments what you think about these 4 NHL divisions, the Canadian division, the Central, the Western, and the Eastern. It would be very interesting to see, but obviously just having a little bit more of an idea, in my opinion, it's getting me very, very excited. So talk to me in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99, and bye.